Josh, how many people were in the waiting room that we're waiting on?
Everybody from the waiting room is in.
Okay, all right. So it's 6:30, so I'll call this Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order for February 28th, 22. And we'll start out with some public comment, if there's any public comment. I see Baldy's hand.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. Thank you for tonight. I'd like to offer up a couple of comments on your first piece of legislation, which is the local tax option for retail marijuana. As with any potential revenue impact and discussion, it's always prudent to include any offsetting costs in the discussion. Without costs, any anticipated tax revenues will certainly be inflated and won't be a true representation of the net result. If approval is given to collect taxes set at a finite amount without having a true understanding of the costs, then the impact on town resources would be unknown and therefore would put the town at risk. Therefore, I urge you to do your diligence as the Budget and Finance Committee and include any potential costs in your discussion if in fact you decide to proceed ahead tonight. According to data coming out of Colorado, Washington, and California, some of the leading cost drivers include law enforcement, particularly with exploding underground markets that they've seen since they've had allowed recreational to go forward, drug driving deaths, car crashes, workforce issues, and mental and other health issues, just to name a few. You should also reach out to our local police chief, Del Monte, and other medical professionals to get their input. If the town gives approval to collect taxes at a rate of 3%, without understanding the complete picture, we're doing a disservice to the employees and the citizens of our community. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed. Anyone else? Okay, so I also see our fire chief. So if it's okay with you, Dennis and Sean, we'll let them speak when we get to the fire station piece, if that's okay. Yes, I think you're on mute, but I thought that was a good nod.
I said that's fine.
Sure,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right.
Do we
All right.
really have a choice?
Yeah.
No, I'm
All right, minutes from the January 24th meeting.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right. Sean, how do you vote on those?
Yes.
And Dennis?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so that's 3-0. All right, so the legislation referred. Okay, so this we don't have to vote on this tonight because it's not actually on the agenda for tomorrow. And I don't know if the Finance Committee has seen it. There's probably a few other discussions. But I just wanted to give a brief background on what it is. So it is the tax option on retail. It doesn't change any of the zoning or the ban that we have in place. It simply sets a tax rate, and the formal piece is 64N, which is the language in the Mass General Law where you accept the option and then you set your tax rate. And so I hear what Ed's saying, and I agree, the community needs to understand costs associated with it, but that's often associated with host agreements, not with tax rates. And so I'd leave that in the purview of the town manager. So did you guys want to talk about this more tonight, or did you want to move it to a different time?
I think we should.
I'll
I think we should keep it in committee. I don't think we need to
Yeah.
act on it now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to move to our next scheduled meeting.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All right. Sean, how do you vote on that?
Yes.
All right. And Dennis?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So we'll schedule that for our next committee meeting. All right. Next up, we have, one second, trying to browse the, right, it's transfer order contractual buyouts. That would be order.
I'll move to approve.
Move to recommend. I'll second that.
Move to
I'll
recommend.
second that.
All right. Any discussion on that?
Do the numbers add up, Michael?
The numbers add up. I may have misread this in council, but this is contractual sick buyback for a retiring employee. So this is, just so you know, this is the last large sick buyback in the Steelworkers Union, the USW. So after this, they're capped at 5,000. For all the rest of the employees, there either is none or it's capped at $5,000. So this is the last big number in that unit.
Okay. Any other discussion questions? No. All right, we'll vote on ordinance 41. Dennis,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and I am a yes, that's 3-0. All right, moving on to the acceptance of fire safety equipment grant. That's ordered 42.
I'll move to recommend
Okay,
for approval. I'll recommend
I will
for
second
approval.
that.
all right. Any discussion, questions? You have experts here.
No, I
Grant,
looks
thank you
like
for the
good
grant.
stuff. Yeah, thank you for the grant.
We want them to see what they're doing. They need those, see what they're doing with the.
All right,
Hope they don't have to use them going to a dark building.
all right. So on order 42, Dennis, how do you vote to recommend?
Yes. Yes.
And Sean?
Yes.
Yes, and I'm a yes, 3-0. All right, moving on to the acceptance of grant COA. This is order number 43.
I'll make a motion to recommend.
I'll second.
All right. And any questions, comments?
Nice grant.
So this is, I'll ask a question. So Michael, this is a grant for the Mass Council on Aging. So how would a grant like this be used?
So very specifically, they're looking at doing a sort of 6-month, half-year project. It pays for a small stipend for an intern and also builds some of and the intern will help sort of rebrand and create sort of a rebranded Council on Aging and market some of the services that the Council on Aging provides.
Okay, so this would hopefully look at the programs and see if we can augment them, improve them, that sort of thing.
Correct. It's not a grant for any kind of physical construction,
Okay,
anything like that.
all right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Sean, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. We do not have a 44, so we have a 45. And this is a second grant.
I'll move to recommend.
I will second.
Any discussion? No discussion?
No,
All right.
thanks for no shaving.
Yes. What an excuse.
All right. Dennis, how do you vote on this?
Yes.
And Sean?
Yes.
All right, yes.
I see the fire department didn't have one because I don't think those guys shave at all, but anyway. All right, chief, I'll leave it be.
The chief is clean shaved. He's got,
Well, it's not November.
Want to be
Yeah,
a
but some
monk.
people have choices. Some people don't. Anyway,
All right, so I know that Fire Chief and maybe Matt are here with a small presentation. Before we hear motions, would you like to hear a little bit of the background and a little bit of the presentation?
Yes.
All right. Fire
I'm
Chief?
sorry, Bill. We actually don't have a presentation.
Okay.
We're saving that for the finance committee, which would be a repeat of what we did for the town council collectively. Really, purpose here tonight is really to support the loan order, as well as just to allow the fire chief, if you will, just to speak on the actual loan order, answer any questions the budget and finance committee might have.
All right.
I'll make a motion to recommend.
I'll second that for discussion.
All right.
The chief can speak.
I'd like to just thank you for the opportunity to come in this evening and present. This is a need. It's been a need for many years. If you drive by the fire station, you can see what we're talking about. If you've looked at the 3D views on the website, you can see what we're talking about. The original station goes back to 1850. The 4 cornerstones, you can see 2 of them on the front of the station as you drive by. It's central. It's right where the offices are located at this time. This size station has been retrofitted over and over. The last major retrofit was back in the 70s. To this day, not this past summer, the summer before, we had to have repairs done. The engines are heavier, larger. They carry more equipment. They carry more water. In doing so, the concrete floor from the portion that was done in the 1970s started to split away. And as you would drive in and drive out, approximately a 20-foot square was moving as the truck would drive in and drive out of the fire station. We're looking for that for a new fire station. We also need to do repairs on Station 2. Station 2 is a 20-year-old building at this time. And anybody that owns a home would know that repairs and replacement of any type of mechanical systems, i.e. garage doors, roofing, all of those things need to be replaced. Again, examples are quite glaring when you live here every day at both stations. The asphalt starts to sink. In talking to Mr. Humes, the architect, he explained that a 20-year patent on that, it's usually a need to start to refit fire stations or refit the property. So for this, the need is here. We understand the issues that we face, but we still want to present it to the voters, and we'd hope that you would support that.
You support it.
All right. So I have a question that's come to me from a couple different people. Obviously, what to do about the central fire station after the move is still up for discussion. But just so we're clear in what we're presenting to the public and here, this loan order doesn't include any closure, demolish, or anything else on the central building right now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Bill? Yeah. Question.
All right.
Question.
Thanks.
So, Chief, I want to ask you a question, and I'm all in favor of this, and I'm going to support it. My question to you is, and to Matt too, because you've both been on the committee and the town manager. Is the university been kind of involved? I mean, obviously, if this passes, there'll be no presence in the downtown area. Is the college expressed concern about that? Is there a plan coming next to hopefully accommodate that? Does this location get you to the center in a reasonable amount of time according to fire standards? Or even the sub fire station will get you to the center of town in fire standards and so forth? And because we have 2 potential big projects coming down in the downtown area. If Broad Street ever gets off the ground, and I have Perkins Foundry Land, they're going to be doing something. So you'll be having a lot of people in that downtown area. Well, what are your concerns if, at this time, if this passes? And I hope it passes because it's needed. And I think the location is something that you've obviously studied and said that that's probably the most desirable place for a new station.
So we looked at several different options in regards to what could happen. We did look at the 3-station process, but in building a 3-station process, you'd be looking at more personnel to man the station. And don't think that would either be able to be handled at this time. And I don't think the infrastructure, we couldn't build a 3rd station and house everybody in the stations that we have. We're at maximum space as it is. One of the reasons for building out on the Pleasant Street area, one, they put an RFI out for property. The property, I don't think we got anything back. We looked at town-owned property or other available spots or sizes of property. If you go into the traffic study committees that the town has had done, 104 from South Street out to 24 is only behind Stoughton with 138 as far as it being a bottleneck in delivering service. You also hit 4 lights going just to where we talk about to build a new station, 7 lights to get to some of the larger infrastructure that we have, i.e. Summit Drive, i.e. Access, and out towards Elm Street. The town has made great investments in the infrastructure to allow for the building out there. The building is here and it's coming and it's growing quite quickly. So our run volume is out towards that way. What you are saying about the downtown business district with Broad Street, Perkins Foundry, Main Street, also Curve Street, those are things that will have to be addressed, but they're not here right now.
Right.
So I think we have to address what is here right now and at the same time look at it. If the town needed to revisit 3rd station in years to come, maybe we could do it in conjunction with the college and work with them. But to build a central fire station closer to the east side than to the west side, we wouldn't be doing the public justice. So what you're doing by splitting the town in 2, you're working back towards the middle. You're not giving them the service of having the station in the center, but you're lessening the response time for all the people in the community, not just one side or one district.
Thank you. Thank you. And then my next question, perhaps to Michael, what's the process here? It's not on our agenda for tomorrow night because I don't think the Finance Committee has chimed in yet. But it's obviously going to be too late for the April town election, you think? It's not, it won't be. Okay.
No, that's a great question. It will not be too, if all goes well, it will not be too late. If the hearing is held on the evening of the March 15th, and it's then voted after that, it can go to ballot. There's just over enough time to get that on the, on the April ballot.
And that's the goal? That's the goal, to have it before the voters in April?
I think that's the goal. There's obviously a lot of education that has to go on between now and then. And so that's certainly in the works, including all the financial breakdowns and cost per thousand and so forth. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I just add a few comments?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up too on the amount of work that the committee has done in the very early stages. First was really just looking at the needs assessment. What does Bridgewater Fire need in terms of space? And I just remind people that even this plan that's come forward, it's the best option that we have. But I think to the chief's point and to your point, we are a growing town and continuing to grow. The one thing that I learned through the process is that the town of Bridgewater, although it may have some public property, a lot of it is restricted by, as you could probably guess, wetlands. So although we might have that property on the books as conservation property and whatnot, it's not buildable. And I think that, the process that we were even looking at Legion Field at one point and replicating that somewhere else in town, that may be an option that we're faced with down the road, to your point, trying to bring something back into the central business district. But I think the chief recognizes, as well as all of us on the committee, that we have to talk about staffing and what that looks like. So that's a long-term strategic plan for the fire department, maybe for the next fire chief, that looks at where we're headed in the next 20 years. So certainly a third fire station is something we've ruled out for this time. And I think the chief, I don't want to speak on his behalf, but feels confident that the model that's in place now, with this new headquarters and with the existing substation, as you see in the loan order, we've identified a number of facilities improvements to, get another 20 years out of that substation location. So hopefully if this passes. Separately, just to talk about communication, we have been and recognize that, maybe the community is looking for answers on, questions such as what's the impact on taxes. We've recently set up a Facebook page and been sharing that, but more importantly, throughout this whole process, there has been a landing page on the town's website. And we do have a very specific communications plan, and we're just kind of getting to these last few hurdles, both the budget and finance. And as you mentioned, on Wednesday is the finance committee that comes back to town council on the 15th. And we're hoping to really ramp that up with interviews and presentations that we're planning in different areas and trying to grab different demographic groups across town so that everybody's informed. Thank you.
Well, can I just ask a couple questions?
Sure.
So thank you, Chief, either to you or to Michael. Just in general, the 2 million for Pratt Town for Station 2, what are some of the big items that you're looking to fix, replace? Just, I don't need to know like every dime, but some of the big things.
I'll defer to the chief on that one.
Almost $900,000. I don't know if you drive by it almost every day yet, I would assume. The tent that's out back that stores some of our infrastructure, i.e. signboards, generator, and light towers, along with an ambulance in storage. That piece would be changed out from a temporary 20-year piece, a tent, for lack of a better term, into an outbuilding. Something similar to the effect of Lakeville Police Department. It's more set up like a carport with a rear storage garage for security behind it, but it basically prolongs the life of the equipment because it's not out in the weather. So that's almost half of what we're talking about for that money, actually at both stations. It would also allow us right now to move that equipment. It's time. So it's moving other pieces to get to the piece that you need because it's one way in and one way out. When it's set up in a carport fashion, it can be a boat on the outside that's covered, back up, hook it up and drive away with it. Where right now you can't do any of that. It's what should take 5 minutes takes a half hour to an hour.
Gotcha. And I get these confused because we've had presentations in the past for both what we've needed for Pratt Town and also the fire station. Are you going to be a replacement to the HVAC in Station 2?
HVAC, roofing, windows, doors. I don't know if you've ever driven around the backside of Station 2. It was never asphalted, so it's dirt. So we have a CERT vehicle that's out in the back that last year we put $2,000, $2,100 into brakes in that vehicle. It sits out on the grass, the dirt, and the moisture destroys the brakes. So right now we'd have to put more money into that vehicle. We're looking at to replace it with, we received a new ambulance through the opera funding fares. We're looking to replace that CERT vehicle with one of the other ones with decommissioning for an ambulance. But we can't sink that type of money into it until we know, or change it over until we know we can have these undercover, because we're throwing good money after bad. The asphalt in front of the station all has to be ground down and redone because the divots in the front of the station are 4 to 8 inches. Some Saturdays you might see the tower being set up. When we put the pads down for the tower, you can actually see the pad push the ground down to level the piece of equipment off. That piece of equipment is 47,000 tons. So that is as much as you try to plan and do your best. things like that just have to be redone every so many years because of the equipment and the size of it.
Gotcha. Thank you. Michael, just for everyone's edification that's watching this, probably 6 or 7 people, what we're discussing here is a 23, that many, thank you, Dennis. This is an appropriation for up to $23 million, 21 being earmarked for a new station, 2 million for the upgrade to Station 2. But as we saw with the Mitchell project, we're hoping that when the RFPs come in, we could see some savings from these numbers, correct?
Absolutely. So these numbers are based on estimates that are done in the schematic design phase. And those estimates, tend to be fairly conservative, meaning that, they're usually a little bit on the higher side of what the architect or what the estimator actually anticipates bids coming in at. So 21 million for the new building, 2 million for the renovation are fairly conservative numbers. So I would anticipate and hope, I shouldn't say anticipate, I would hope that we get bids. That if we maintain the timeline that we're on, my hope is that we would get bids that would come in less than that. Just as a separate aside, it hasn't come up, but we have been tracking federal legislation, which is an attempt to, I can't remember the number of billions of dollars nationwide, but there is an attempt at the federal level to try to set aside some capital funds specifically for what we are doing here for new police and ambulance stations. If that does come to fruition, there are about 30 co-sponsors. It's in committee and subcommittee right now. But if that anything like that does come to pass, obviously we'll be right first in line with a grant application to secure those kinds of funds as well. So we're not, anytime we do a capital project, same true with the Mitchell School. If you recall, we went to the voters and we had to appropriate the full $80.6 million. Obviously, the MSBA comes in and funds 40 million plus of that appropriation. So really, the town is only spending in the case of the Mitchell is spending something significantly less than half of the 80.6 million. So in this case, we don't have an MSBA, we don't have a state agency that offsets this funding, but to the extent that we can find any sort of grants or aid of any other sort, then we will apply that to the total amount, and then obviously not pass any more expense onto the taxpayers than is absolutely necessary.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So I won't ask a specific capital question, but for the fire station and the renovation, et cetera, Michael, I'm sure you're planning some capital planning items for next year's plan that would go to create accessories for these structures, right?
How do you mean?
For example, I can easily see the need for a second ladder truck, one at Station 2 and one at the new station.
Depending on the needs of the fire department. So we've built in, obviously, you've seen some of, or you saw last year's capital plan to the extent that voters approve this and we have equipment needs, then you'll also see equipment needs in the years out. But at this point, I don't believe we've got anything in the plan for a new ladder truck, Chief, but
You're 4 to 5 years away from it now, Mr. Wood. As far as having that go beyond its 20 years and then go into a reserve piece.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking of, the college has five-story dorms, and now, out at Access and what's the other one called? Levita.
Access and Summit, yes.
Yeah, Summit. Yeah, you've got 4 or 5 stories out there, and downtown would probably have
The best part about the buildings that are at the college, they're all brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Buildings at Access are 5-story wood. Grant you, they have sprinkler systems, they have concrete stairwells in 3 of them and wood stairwells in the others. There is a slight bit of difference as far as the protection and what it would need. Obviously, it would be best to have 2, but we also have mutual aid partners, East Bridgewater, Middleborough.
Well, I'm very excited to see that this project's made it this far. It's a lot of planning, a lot of work by you, Chief, and all the people that you work with. Matt.
Actually, Mr. Dutton and Mr. Russian both deserve credit for that.
I've seen the plan. I hope others take a look at the plan and see the presentations when they're made available. A lot of good work, and I like the combination of the use of the land as well as the fire station. So I'll be in support of this.
Thank you.
Are we ready to move on with the? Did we?
We haven't voted yet.
No, we haven't voted yet, but Dennis made the motion to recommend, and you did. So if we're ready to vote, then Dennis, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Sean?
Yes.
And I am a yes, so it's 3-0 on that one. All right. And then moving on, we have item number 48, order 48, the acceptance of a gift for.
Motion to recommend.
Right.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Any comments?
Chief, before you go, tell you guys, thank you very much for this. This is from the union, $1,000 towards the senior center. So if you could pass that along, that'd be great.
We'll do that, sir. Thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Dutton and Mr. Rushton too for the work they put into the fire station. It wouldn't be where it is without them and the finance. As far as Tony, Laurie, there's a lot of people who put a lot more time and effort into this that deserve thanks. Thank you.
All right, Sean, I think I heard you were first on this one. So how do you vote?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, 3-0. Okay. Moving on, we have 49, order 49, which is transfer order non-union.
Move to recommend. Oh,
Second for discussion.
when do we get paid? We get paid now, town council? Was that $80 a piece?
I don't see why that's so difficult.
So, Michael, someone asked me questions in general, and I didn't know the answer. So when we go into negotiation with the unions and we land and things of that nature, the other non-affiliates that you have here, do they mirror what unions are getting in comparison to what they're getting, say salary and things like that? Or do we do this on some sort of analysis around, COLA and things of that nature? Someone asked me that. I honestly didn't know the answer.
No, that's a great question. So this is, and actually it's timely because this is the first year that we've are trying to get all of what we call a non-affiliated, which are people that don't have either a personal service contract or are part of a collective bargaining unit. We're trying to get them on a matrix, on a standard matrix. And so what we've done here is essentially mimic the terms of the USW contract, which we feel best, is the best contract to sort of mimic in this case. We've mimicked the terms of their contract, gotten everybody on the matrix, on the USW, what is also the USW matrix. And then we treated them very much the same way exactly the same way that we treated the USW employees. So that's kind of how we got to this point. I think in years past, we had people all over the board, so to speak. And when I say that, I mean, they weren't on a specific matrix, we're just kind of floating outside, and we would give them, a standard some sort of standard COLA increase almost every year. This year, we are trying to get people on a consistent basis. Obviously, it makes it a lot easier administratively to get people on a matrix, but it's also a slightly more predictable, wage scale. So that, I think that probably answers your question, Sean.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Dennis?
No.
Anything? No, okay. All right. Dennis, how do you vote on this one?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Yes. All right, I think we're at the end.
That's it. Motion to adjourn.
Well,
Well, you got to do
we do,
public.
we'll capture the
Oh, wait a
last
minute.
comment.
Do we, I'm sorry, do we do comments at the end too? That's on me if we, sorry. I rescind that for public comment.
All right. Anyone else for public comment? Pat Neary has the question in chat when we would schedule the next meeting, and typically that's the Monday or Tuesday before the week of the town council meeting. So it all depends on what we pick up tomorrow night, and we'll then work out a schedule for this.
Is there things being referred to us tomorrow night?
I'm not sure. I'm not
I
sure.
believe so.
Yeah.
You have,
I
yeah, the town hall roof repair we referred. And the two transfer orders, so.
Yeah,
We meet on the 4th. We can meet on the 15th.
Yeah, is that the Monday or the Tuesday?
Whichever one's.
I think the 14th is a Monday. Yeah,
Monday.
14th is a Monday.
I could do the 14th at 6:30 if you can, Dennis, and you, Bill.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that. Okay, so we'll schedule for Monday the 14th at 6:30. All right. All right, Sean.
No.
you're up.
Now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, no discussion. Sean, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
I'm a yes. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you
right.
all.
Thanks, everyone.